Welcome, everybody, to the 2025 World Beach Ultimate Championships live from Portimão in the beautiful Algarve region on the south of Portugal. 136 teams from 38 countries in 10 divisions have descended on the glorious golden sands of the Praia de Rocha with one singular goal in mind: to be crowned the world's best on the beach. It promises to be an amazing week of Ultimate here, and we have an electric opener for you. Kicking things off in the mixed division, we have the host nation Portugal taking on Japan. My name is Benjamin Rees, and I am delighted to say that I am joined by Becky Thompson to cast her expert eye over proceedings. And a bit of a leading question for you, given that I know the answer: are you as excited for this as I am?
I am so excited to be here, Benji. Like you said, this is going to be an amazing week here on the sand. So many teams vying to take home the World Championship title, and I can't wait to see how it goes.
Yeah, we mentioned 10 divisions here, so open, mixed and women's, open, mixed and women's masters, open, mixed and women's grandmasters, and open great grandmasters as well. And there are 24 pitches going on this tournament, so wherever you look, there are Frisbees flying all over the place, and it is a real feast and festival here in Portimão. It is going to be a wonderful week. Have a quick look at the pools in the open division. The USA, as the reigning champions, the number one seed, they beat Spain in last year's final. They top Pool B, and you see Great Britain and Canada, the other top seeds in the pool. Maybe potential teams that you're also keeping an eye on this division, Becky?
Yeah, absolutely. Some very strong rosters on all of those teams looking to take down the USA in that division. Spain, as we know, incredibly good on the sand as well. Great Britain and Canada maybe not known as well for that, but definitely looking to make their mark. And you get a chance to see the women's pools. Only 2 pools in this division, Benji, but 18 teams, and Canada and the US top as well.
Yeah, Spain we expect to come on strong on not quite home sand, but not far from it. Great Britain, France as well, also looking very strong. Belgium had a really good run at the World Beach Ultimate Championships last year with the young upstarts Tarijas, and they are certainly one to keep an eye on towards the bottom of Pool B, as are the Netherlands. They are going to be very, very strong. Mixed has 4 divisions. This is where we kick off this week, of course. Not quite even pools with 27, a slightly awkward number to work with. So 1 pool of 6 and 3 pools of 7. Lovely to see countries that we don't necessarily get a chance to see at world events. So looking at the likes of, for example, the Lebanon, the UAE, or maybe even Estonia.
Yeah, absolutely. And Estonia as well, with quite a strong roster, seeded 27th. But Benji, I don't think that they are going to end up in that position. The likes of the Philippines as well, who are seeded 14th. Very talented on the sand, and Singapore too, who could be looking to make a mark in the mixed division. The mixed division, of course, in 2023, Benji, was the only final that didn't have a USA team featured in the game, with France mixed taking on Spain in that game. And I do think that division is wide open.
Yeah, I've seen the mixed USA team being classed as the redeem team because they have a little bit of a point to prove. This is, I think, Beach Worlds, the one event where the USA have, I don't want to say struggled, because they're very much still the presumptive favourites in pretty much every division, but this is where they've seemed a little bit more mortal than most. Obviously, you mentioned that semi-final loss to France last time out. USA Mixed lost in the semi-finals in the mixed division as well in 2015, back in Dubai. There was that hellacious game between USA and Russia in the women's division as well a couple of cycles ago. So this is maybe the event where I don't want to say expect the upset, because that makes it by definition not quite an upset, but this is really anyone's game to take.
Yeah, absolutely. And kicking us off today, of course, we've got Portugal and Japan, who will be looking to make their mark on this tournament. Portugal seeded 23rd, Japan seeded 10th, and Benji, you and I were discussing this ahead of the game, but Japan maybe not always known as much for their beach skills. Portugal quite strong on the sand, so it'll be really interesting to see how this one goes. Obviously, both of these teams looking to go out strong in the opening game.
It's always tricky coming into an opening game, because you want a nice styles clash. You want a game that really often feels like a world event. Portugal versus Japan, not a matchup you normally get to see, so you get that. If you don't go with kind of one of the local rivalry games, this is a good way to kick it off. Portugal have teams in the mixed, Masters Mixed and Grandmasters Open, where it's open women's and mixed for Japan. And with a little bit of a crowd gathering, there was no Parade of Nations and opening ceremony this morning as normal. That was cancelled a couple of days ago because the weather forecast, I want to say it was less than optimistic. That does not do it justice. It's been absolutely hellacious here the past couple of days. So the fact that the weather seems set fair from here on out is somewhat of a minor miracle.
Yeah, we've seen a little bit of rain creeping in the last about 5 minutes here, but it does seem to be clearing over, so we should get good conditions for this first opening game. But like you said, Benji, it has been torrential rain for the last couple days, so it's nice to see good conditions here. Not too windy either down on the sand right now, so should make for a really good opening game.
I mean, to put it into perspective, on Thursday the beach was just closed completely. People were not allowed down here at all because it was too dangerous, and that's made setup a little bit fraught at times. But delighted to say that we are able to be here to bring you this showcase opening game with the host nation up against Japan, which is our free YouTube game of the day as well, of course. So hello to everyone watching, whether you're in Portugal, in Japan, maybe you're at the tournament, just in your hotel or wherever you are around the world. It is a pleasure to have you here with us, and if you want to watch all the games from this week, you can get an Ultiworld subscription, which will get you access to the extensive video archive, along with all sorts of other goodies like subscriber-only articles, podcast segments, and access to the Ultiworld Discord. You can decide for yourself whether that's a good thing or not. And yes, you can also get an event pass to get access from all 4 streaming fields throughout the week. Seeing the stands begin to fill up a little bit as teams filter out from their hotels down to the beach. When the sun came out about 2 o'clock yesterday afternoon, it felt like the entirety of Portimão just descended on the beach. The first time they'd actually been able to get proper good weather practice in. And you could tell that there was such anticipation and excitement around the venue that everyone we talked to just had such a warm, beaming smile on their face. You can tell that there was a real appetite to get things going.
There's definitely something special about being at a beach tournament for those reasons exactly. It's amazing to be here on the sand, to see the teams getting ready to go to get us underway at the World Beach Ultimate Championships. The game's 45 minutes long to a soft cap. After that, you must score to win, so the first team to get in that last point to win the game, of course, and no half times as well for this one, Benji, so the teams will just change ends at the half to play it out.
Yeah, we do still have that mirrored half at 7 with games to 13 on the beach. And for those of you who have not necessarily watched much Beach Ultimate, tend to favour the grass variant of the game. Beach, it comes at you thick and fast. You think, you're really going to reach 13 in a 45-minute game? Oh yes, it happens quick, and you've really got to be alert to those changes of momentum and those shifts that can happen, because you only get one time out to use a game as well. So working out when precisely you need to use it to maybe push your advantage or get yourself set in the game is vitally important. Also see as well in the yellow on the sidelines the 2 game advisors for this game. We have Dmitry Doroshenko on the far side and Dr. Katie Allen on the near side. Japan then with that yellow Ultra Star in hand, wearing the blue jerseys with the black shorts, getting underway to Portugal in their new, quite stylish actually, white with the navy shorts. Here's Roy. Finds a nice split through the zone. Ozdez trying to break the mark to get back to Roy, but a bit of contact on the mark there from Seigi Noda.
interesting to see Japan starting with a zone as well, Benji. We don't see a lot of zone in Beach Ultimate, with the pitches being a little bit smaller and it being a bit harder to change your direction on the sand as well.
And just doing enough of a job there on the mark, forcing that confusion and that pressure. Japan get the turnover. And Noda, having made himself a nuisance on the mark, then sneaks it past the bidding defender of Keitano, but Sugai can't catch it. Roy with a big pump fake again. They're trying to hit this breakside soft space. Quicker movement downfield. Trying not to let that zone get set. Borges doesn't think she quite got that out before the slap came in. Noda had already taken off trying to steal a march.
That is the second time we've seen that same block from Noda as well, trying to get around that side. It's a really hard block to make cleanly when that disc is coming out of the backhand release.
Yeah, so you're saying you didn't release
Yeah,
it? You're saying that you think that she did release it?
Yeah.
Okay, are you happy to contest the call?
Sure.
Or would you like perspective?
Yeah, perspective.
My perspective is that it didn't look like you'd released the disc. But it's,
I have hit a little force.
yeah. Yeah. Okay.
So you catch.
Yeah.
Maybe.
So we've all given our perspective. Your call is still, you're keeping your foul call.
Yeah.
Would you like to accept or
Accept.
you accept? Okay. We're going to have a foul accepted. It's going to be your disc. You're going to be in on one. Foul. Accept.
So the game advisors, you can hear there, can provide their perspectives, but they are not making binding rulings. It is still up to players to come to a decision. Here's Roy, fakes the over the top, doesn't need to though, can slide that leading backhand into space for Jose Caetano, and that is a hold for the Portuguese side to start. 1-0.
Caetano absolutely off to the races, streaking up the line for the goal there. And interesting to see how that first point played out. Noda going to be very dangerous on the force, I think, here for Japan, Benji, but Portugal on the second time of asking, able to work it up through the zone and in for the first point.
Yeah, it felt like Japan were really keen to actually let them have that space. They want to trap them on the sideline, especially with Noda, who's got quite a lot of length on the mark, really doing a good job of hassling and harrying those release points.
It did look a little bit like in a mixed gender setting as well, able to get that different strategy of forcing the disc into maybe some of the smaller female matching players and get Noda with his big shape on the force and really smother on the force as well. So it'll be interesting to see if they continue to use that as a strategy here too.
As someone who is somewhat shorter of stature myself, I've been there. I understand exactly the predicament that defence is trying to force. First chance to look at the Portugal D-line. Afonso Coelho to pull. Plunks into the sand. Deep strike goes off immediately, trying to deliver an absolute rope downfield, looking for the leap into the end zone, and a shake of hands afterward. The goal is good. Kota Sagawa is going to be lightning across these sands.
Just jumping it into the end zone there as well, Benji. I was worried he was maybe milking it a little bit too much, but an excellently timed jump for the goal. And Japan using a little bit of what we've seen over the recent years in Grass Ultimate as well, starting to use those leading passes and leading hucks to their benefit, and really nicely executed pass there. Very quick, efficient offensive point here as well from the Japanese team. You get another look at it, just perfectly into space and able to time that jump into the end zone.
When you draw it up and it works, it just feels like an absolute dream. Get the O-line on the field, a couple of passes later, get them straight off again. Excellent work, just isolating that cut from Sagawa. We'll see if Portugal's offense has any extra foibles. Different gender ratio for them this time round. Of course, we switch after every odd-numbered point, so 3 male, 2 female matching players this point. Starting the 3 male matching players in the backfield. Here's Roy, of course the truck stop standout. Zips that downfield to Caetano. Roy calls for it and receives. Finds the speedy Pedro Pascual. And a pick. This is going to bring a temporary halt to proceedings. Disc check back in on the mark by Atsumi. Roy's got the break available. He's going to lead it into space. And the space was cleared once more for Caetano, who is going to be a key goal scorer for Portugal.
And a very similar cut to the one he made for his last goal here as well, Benji. Just timing that upline cut into space really nicely. Interesting to see Japan coming down with a match defense on that point, changing up, maybe trying to not let Portugal get too comfortable, but looked like they dealt with it quite well.
I wonder if potentially it's a switch of defenses depending on the gender ratio.
Yeah, definitely one we're going to have to keep an eye on here. Get another look at that lovely leading pass into space. You have to get those passes right on the sand as well. People running a little bit slower sometimes, able to lead that out perfectly into Caetano's hands. And Caetano definitely one to watch here as well.
It really rewards those finesse throwers, I think. You've got to be able to throw with that touch and that backspin to get them to just sit a little bit longer on the sand than they do on the grass. Certainly it's an adjustment that some players struggle to make more than others, I think. But Roy seems right at home already. That ball lands in bounds, is going to force them deep in their own end zone. Sakakibara picks up. Able to find Sagawa coming underneath this time. The lefty sits that backhand out into space. A little bit of a chase down, not a problem there for Yamamoto. And then the edge took it away from Sagawa, but he caught it regardless. Now Sakakibara again, downfield, just shy of the end zone, looking for that little pop in, and the bid is not going to come up. Trumps for Patricio. Sagawa with his second score as well.
Japan did such a good job there, Benji, of holding space for each other, having one clear isolation cut at a time as well. Really efficient offense again from this Japanese team. A difficult situation off the pole there, dealt with it really well, and as soon as they broke out of their own end zone, they were off to the races.
Did so well not to get flustered and stay calm at the start of the possession, and as soon as you can get out of the end zone and you just feel that valve tick down a couple of notches, it does give you that bit of a more freeing quality, I think. This was the diciest moment of the possession. That edge just taking it away from Sagawa, but so he did well to get up to speed and go for the layout to just about secure it. One of the nice things about playing on sand, of course, is that you can throw yourself around a little bit more, and it's somewhat more forgiving on the joints and on the body, especially once the sand churns up a little bit. Japan going back to that zone defense as we thought they might with the change of gender ratio again. Trying to get it moving around the backfield with Roy and Caetano. Lovely little bounce back with Nunes. Travel call. This one is not going to stand up, I don't think. A little too much go and not enough throw, potentially. A couple of passes before there from Roy, at least. That is what Seiji Noda thinks.
In the travel rule, of course, now, Benji, you do get to throw within those 3 steps. So it does allow for players to move as they give and go in a zone like that a lot more than it used to. So it'd be interesting to see if it was within those steps.
Okay. So you're going to contest regardless of the perspective?
You don't want to hear it?
All right.
You hear?
Yes, I do have a perspective on that. In my perspective, the foot kept contact with it, plus it was less than 2 contacts with the ground on that throw.
No.
I cannot say if it was a travel or not. You need to make a decision.
He said there was contact the whole time with my foot, and it was less than 2 contacts. That's fine.
Okay, so it's retracted. It's going to be a point? Point? Okay, point. Point.
So after getting input there from the game advisor and a little bit of discussion, they are going to say that the goal stands, and that is Portugal taking the lead once more, up 3-2.
Portugal dealing with the zone a lot better on that one, and like you noted there, Benji, Japan maybe changing up their defensive strategy based on the gender ratio on the pitch, having the likes of Noda out to go on the force there, but on that time Portugal were able to look for those little easy passes through the middle, some dishes, didn't get themselves trapped on the sideline like they did in the first time, and able to just work it through the middle, little pop passes all the way up. See Roy really running the show. taking it all the way through and basically just walking it into the end zone.
Yeah, all about the tempo they played with there. By keeping the disc moving quickly, it meant that the force was kind of always on their back shoulder and never got a chance to come through and, at least if not get things grinding to a halt, apply some bit of breakage to it. Coelho to pull again. This one fielded just above the sand by Sagawa. Setting up another deep shot. They're trying to test Pasquale deep. Seems like a bad idea. He has such fleet of foot on the sand and gets the big layout block to send the home fans into raptures. It's exactly what Pasquale is all about. He is determined to make an impact here in Portimão this week.
This is the first chance now for Portugal's D-line to play offense as well. Look to get a break here.
Coelho in the long sleeves to pick up. 3 set up horizontal downfield, and immediately they're calling Pasquale's number again. Gets the better of his matchup once more. Shunoda left, eating the dust. As a pick, that is going to cause somewhat of a stoppage. That's classic D-line offense, that, isn't it, really? Walk it to the front and instantly grip it and rip it. I love it. With no mark on Afonso Coelho, he's going to tap it in himself. Do now get into position. Pasquale. Big wide fakes, opens up that break side space, punches it in to Rui Silva, and that is the first break of the game going Portugal's way. Their D-line sensed their chance, and they took it with aplomb.
A huge celebration there from the home nation as well. Can see how excited they are to get that break in, and really efficient end zone play there as well, creating space for each other and using, like you said, the break side really well. Japan maybe not wrapping on the force early enough to stop that pass from coming up. Get another chance to see Pasquale's incredible block, read it so well on that play, and then went straight back the other way. And you can see just on the end zone line the Japan force trying to get over to stop that break throw from coming, but couldn't get there in time. In Portugal with the first break.
Yeah, Pasquale so fast across the sand, but he's got speed in other areas. He's also a speed cuber.
That's a very impressive stat to have.
Which, as far as I'm concerned, is literally wizardry. I see no other explanation. This time, rather than the inside out, a big booming blade of a pull fielded once more close to the fall, this time by Sakakibara. Big pump fake to open up the inside space. And then a continuation, finding it downfield. Kobayashi takes the little reset back to Sagawa. Zips it just shy of the end zone. And then they find the inside seam to exploit once more into the end zone. Is Sei Kobayashi for the score.
And those inside shots are something that Japanese Ultimate is really known for. We haven't seen them use that much so far in this game, Benji, but looking to open up those spaces, cutting for those inside passes, and really well executed throws as well. Portugal not really able to keep up with some of those cuts.
It's interesting to see how teams kind of adjust and adapt their offenses for the beach. I think, thinking about Japan playing on grass, a lot of the time you see, actually what a lot of teams crit on the J-stack, but the diagonal sort of offense where you've got the line downfield and no one really starting in the backfield. On beach, it's a little bit tougher to play potentially. I know that that's an offense you were playing this season with Reading somewhat, so you probably are a bit more up to speed with kind of the various quirks and foibles of when it doesn't work.
Yeah, absolutely. It can really benefit a team when you're able to make those quick movements on the sand, sometimes a little bit slower, and need to have a reset back in that space as well.
Portugal going back to work once more. Coelho's come over to play offense. Roy with a big flick pump fake. Now trying to get the rest of the players involved downfield, but Titerno started thinking about the next option and couldn't secure the catch. Another chance for Japan's D-line. They squandered their first on the first point of the game. Noda comes in and gets that high release to break the mark to the inside. Noda once more. Akumo. Giving it back to Noda, faking the continuation. Didn't like the angle. Still trying to stay aggressive, looking towards the end zone. I think Eterno wasn't aware that the disc was coming, and by the time she knew, it was already too late. Japan broken, with back on level terms.
And Noda has been really impressive to watch so far in this game as well, Benji. Been very present on defense, but now a chance to see what he can do on the offensive side. Very patient with the disc, waiting for those isolation cuts to open up in the end zone, and a great pivot off that throw as well. So impressive job there from Japan, back on serve, like you said.
Yeah, seeing with Japan that across those 4 scores, they've had 4 different throwers and 3 different goal scorers, so spreading the load a little bit more potentially than the Portuguese are. There's the drop from Portugal that gave Japan the window that they exploited well, punching it in to Miyajima for the score. So a nice tight opening game here, which is exactly what you want. It's a great way to kick off the week.
Yeah, and Portugal playing with what looks like quite a strict O-line here as well. The same players heading back out. Roy back on the pitch after that break.
CB wise to duck the pull. Fielded by Caetano. Working with Roy in the backfield. Just past the bidding defender, that's going to leave them out of position. Can they get the strike downfield? Recovers in time. Nunes with a little bit of space on the break side. Getting out of her hands, distributing quickly. Advancing into the attacking red zone. Roy again, really quarterbacking the offense from that center handling role. Lovely bounce back. 3 in the end zone. Roy calling for a little bit of order out of the entropy as defender is lied prostrate on the floor. I think maybe clipped on the way through potentially. Everyone seems okay to continue, which is good to see. The sun fully comes out from behind the cloud. Caetano angles his cut out of the end zone. Maybe get a little bit of a softer defensive position before dishing it on that striking en passant cut to Andrew Roy for the score.
Yeah, Roy was just biding his time there, Benji. Looked upfield, watched the cut come in the end zone, recognized it wasn't free, and then was able to make that little upline for his 4th stat of the game. First goal, 3 assists so far in this one. So Roy definitely making his mark here at the World Beach Ultimate Championships. At
14 passes, that's the longest possession so far for Portugal's O-line. So in one sense for Japan, you know, you're forcing a more piecemeal possession there. That slower matriculation of the disc downfield rather than chunk yardage, which we saw their D-line really thrive on. But I think you take wings where you can get them and say, we're causing a little bit of a problem there. They got into the end zone. They stagnated slightly, I think.
Yeah, they really had to, like you see that on that replay as well. Roy was free in that reset space, and Caetano wasn't looking for the reset, instead continuing to focus on the end zone. Roy having to make that little upline cut to kind of save it at a later stall option. But like you said, Japan putting that pressure on. Interesting to see their D-line again came down with a match defense on that last one. I think, Benji, it's 2 different D-lines that this Japanese team have coming out with different styles, which can really disrupt a team's rhythm as well.
This time Sagawa picks up from the floor. He's got it about 5-10 meters outside of his own end zone. Now just shy of midfield. Sagai again striking deep. This throw is aired out. Oh, the full fat milk with the cream on top. And he's very much the cat that's got the cream out here on these shining Portuguese sands. The speed of Sagawa, too much to throttle that time.
The third goal here for Sagawa as well. Like you said, it's the speed, able to time those cuts well, but the defense unable to keep up with Sagawa when he's streaking up the line like that. And a big celebration, the airplane arms before making that catch, but Japan fired up here.
There's always a little bit of a sicko in me that when someone goes for the early airplane arms, that's like, if you drop this, you're gonna seem like a right mug. But you love the confidence and the swagger, I think. You want teams to enjoy the occasion, feel that just energy, the vibes going through them. And often when you have someone starting in a deeper position, as Sagawa was there, that sometimes gets you into trouble because it gives defenders further downfield a chance to switch off. But the speed is so good that by the time you've got that communication to switch off and pick it up, he's already burned past. Fielded on the hop this time by Caetano. Roy looking to wear it out. Likes the option to Eterno, but I think she saw it a little bit late in the edge, took it over her head and out of reach and into the sand.
Yeah, Eterno wasn't quite ready for that disc to come up. Was very free. It was a good option from Roy, but like you said, just missing that on the read. And Japan, the likes of Noda out again here, a chance to break.
One for two so far. The Japanese D-line on their conversions. Noda trying to be shuttled by Roy here. Ishiguro onto a tight coverage cut. Didn't seem massively open, and Francisco Patricio agreed. Disc sat to the far side there for Ozdes. Back to Caetano now. Setting the high release backhand, and Patricio, having got the block, I think maybe needed out of his own grasp. Japanese D-line trying to get into rhythm and into system and into phase. Really threatening the inside off the line. Leads it maybe a little bit too far. The backup is provided. And then the force bites on it, and it's not going to work because Ebru Ozdes was alert to the threat and steamed through to get a vital block.
You could see what Otake was looking for on that one, but Otake just maybe a little bit slow on the execution, rushed it a little bit into that space as well, and a great block here from Portugal.
And Portugal's O-line, that seems like it's maybe not necessarily got into their head, but certainly is let us down to the slip a little bit at this point, opting to use the timeout. They're one to use this game and just take a bit of a breather and get that mental reset.
Yeah, not surprised to see the timeout call here at all, Benji. Like you said, a chance to reset, regroup, and it does get quite tiring on the sand, so as soon as these points go on for longer as well, it is a good chance to take a break. The time already halfway through this game, haven't got to halftime as well, so this one getting quite tight.
You do often see this actually on the sand, that once there's been maybe one or two turnovers from either side, if the team's kind of not alert to the fact that we need to take a reset here, that often one or two quickly becomes 4, 5, 6 aside, and your tank really empties, and it puts you at such a disadvantage for the rest of the game. A long drawn out point I don't think necessarily hurts Japan as much as it hurts Portugal, given how tight that O-line rotation's been.
Yeah, we've seen the same players out quite frequently. Meanwhile, Japan rotating through two D-lines, able to continue to put pressure on the O-line, get another look at the turnovers here. Great block there, but unfortunately After was not able to retain possession. That one you could see what Otake was looking for. Just put the disc a bit behind the space that she was aiming for. Portugal with another chance here at a hold.
Yep, so going with this tried and true setup with 3 horizontal downfield. Roy and Caetano in the backfield. A little bit of early movement. Ozdes having got the block to secure possession back for her side. A little bit keen to get going. And we are now underway. Immediately the sag off the mark there from Ishiguro. Ozdes, the underneath option. Wants to get it out of her hands. Roy turns into the backfield. This time he's going to ping it once more. Can he get it online? It's going to be just shy of the end zone for Caetano. Looking for some support. Eterno comes through, and it's floated to Roy, who just has to make sure that he does the basics there. Double checks his feet, watches it all the way into the hands, and Portugal on top at 6-5, but this game's still so tight, Becky.
And Roy and Caetano basically with a full field give and go play there as well, Benji. Roy sending it deep to Caetano, but was kind of forced into that situation as well. And big credit goes to the female matching Japanese players on defense. They're really taking away those under options, really taking away those cuts, and making it so that Roy and Caetano are having to run the show for this Portuguese team. And it'll be interesting to see how they may want to adapt that going forward. But I think it's a big credit to the defense that Japan is playing, especially on the female matching players.
Japan getting a fresh 5 ready to go out there. Of course, with a odd score, that is a change of gender ratio, so going from 3 male 2 female matching to 2 male 3 female matching. And that means female matching puller. This time it's Pinto to do the honours. Sakakibara going short to the live wire Sagawa. Trying to put a lot of snap in those fakes to get the mark biting as the disc to the far side for Sakakibara somehow weasels its way through her grasp. Portugal with a chance to break us into half.
We haven't seen a lot of execution errors yet from this Japanese team, more blocks from the Portugal team.
They've got an opportunity now. And their only previous possession, the D-line got the job done. They're going to ask a lot here, trying to sit that floating throw over towards the break side. Excellently defended by Kota Sagawa, or maybe not, because a foul is called here by Gabriel Marques.
Be interesting to see this one again, Benji. On a first look, it looked like the disc got lost over the head, and Sagawa was able to make a touch.
The translator.
Get another look at it now. That disc was fading.
The call is a foul, right?
Yes.
Okay.
There's a big part of me that thinks that Sagawa had that position a little bit earlier.
Tell that to just, yes, he will translate it.
My perspective is, as I jump, this, and he pushed me because he was coming from this direction, and so I had my arms here, and he my arms from this.
Yeah, you've been discussing that. There is a little bit of like, he said, I did, you did. Okay. Yeah, you need to come to a resolution now. It sounds like you're not going to be able to agree anyway, right?
I will still call a foul.
Okay.
You contest.
It's going to be foul. Contest. Going to be sent back.
One of the things that I think sometimes we can take for granted up here in the booth is that it's easy for us to have these discussions because we get to speak in our native language, and for the two sides out there, you're not speaking in your native language, so discussions will take a little bit longer. This one, the two parties agreeing to disagree and sending it back.
On another look there, Benji, you can see the contact from Sagawa. I still think they were fighting for that same space, and maybe more of a situation of incidental contact, that disc fading over the head of Marques, but you can see where the contact came from.
Nunes up the line looking to sit it towards the back of the end zone, and that is that finesse on the throw we were talking about. This time Gabriel Marques makes the grab, and Portugal will break to take us into half with a 7-5 advantage.
Big break here from Portugal. Marques absolutely fired up after that one, Benji, and you see the Portugal Mixed Masters team there in the stands celebrating out in full force for the home team. The two sides will, of course, simply change ends now at halftime. Not much time for a break on the beach here, but a 7-5 advantage, and the clock's still ticking down.
During our little pre-tournament rounds yesterday afternoon when the sun came out. Had a look at a little scrimmage between Portugal Mixed and Portugal Mixed Masters, and I must say it was a tasty little game for both sides. Even though it was, it's a friendly, it's a warm-up, they were going for it, and that Portugal Mixed Master side looks pretty tidy as well, I have to say. Many of those kind of Portuguese greats that we think about on the surface, the various Vargashes and Brinjel clans, they're still pretty good, to the surprise of nobody. It's, however, very exciting to see maybe the next generation of Portuguese Ultimate kind of stepping up to the plate here in this mixed division. Gabriel Marques there with the score, Tisha Nunez with the assist as well, representing Portugal for the first time, I think. Based out in Nice in the south of France, where I know that our colleague Steph Rapasso has been putting her through her paces for the last few weeks. Evidently all that training has paid off. So Japan then starting the second half here. Already moving the disc beyond the attacking brick mark. Coelho sails out to stop that around throw. Well exploited by Mandai, but he's just shy of the end zone. Can he force his way over the goal line? The simple little dish to the front is all that was required. When you can score at the front cone, why do anything else? Sei Kobayashi with the score that time.
The 24-year-old, 2 goals and 1 assist so far in this game. She's been so dangerous in the end zone for this Japanese team, able to get free in those small spaces, just really able to seal out her defender at that front cone as well there. And Japan, a nice clean hold to start the second half, keeping this game quite close and very exciting. This is exactly what you want from an opening game at the World Championships. You'll get another look here at Kobayashi's cut, going to the back cone and then just cutting straight under to that front cone. The defender trying to make a play, but Kobayashi sealing out in that space.
Yeah, defender with the hips overly committed towards the back of the end zone. Has to go through almost a full 180 to get into position and catch up, and it is too late by the time that they can. Proving herself a really natural finisher on the surface here, Kobayashi. Stop me if you've heard this before. Caetano to Roy off the pull. Borges now underneath. Roy tried to skedaddle his way past the defender. That one's behind Pasquale. Into the sand. Japan immediately airing it out towards that far side of the end zone. I think the only person who's going to catch that's going to be in the stands. As that was risky. Tried his best to keep it alive. I think the disc was well out of play by that time, and it's fortunate that the advertising standings are collapsible.
Have to give him A for effort on that one. Maybe unaware of where the sideline was at that point, but
maybe could require a little bit better self-preservation. Well, defender came in to try and flash and get the block, and there was a meaty collision afterwards between Miyajima and Ostes. Good to see everyone's okay, though. Check back in. Going to swing it wide, and that one, expert dive to pluck it off the sand. A little bit of a wobbler that Caetano fields, and now striking deep. The sideline likes it, but too much juice, and it hits the sand.
And the turno there was very free going to the end zone. A good option from the Portuguese offense, but the execution just carried over her head a little too far. See no chance there for a bid on that play either.
And the outside in trajectory a little too severe, the angle. Japan's D-line have been able to get turns, but been a little bit profligate with their opportunities. Another deep shot, this time looking for Sugai. Finally they've got the beating of Pasquale in the deep space. 2 Japan players come to provide the support, and the toss to Amika Miyajima has the Japanese break, and we are level pegging again. Neither side really able to gain too much ground.
What a fantastic opening game here, Benji. This is everything you want from a beach ultimate game. We've seen some incredible throws, incredible plays, and all tied up here. The defense from both these teams has been really fascinating to watch as well. The matchup between Noda and Roy has been incredible in this one as well. And it'll be interesting to see how long the Portugal continue to run the same O-line out as well. I think the rotation from this Japanese team has definitely come into play with their ability to hang in some of these longer points as well and get these breaks. You see a great catch, good read on that huck, the beautiful inside-out edge on that throw as well.
Yeah, really, it's nothing too exaggerated, but you can see there the shape that just keeps it airborne a little bit more out of the defender's path. Lovely shapely throw, as you were correct to point out. Roy on the far side, that's high, that's really well plucked as well. Contact call, I think, so the mark sits off a little bit. Pinged from Roy to Caetano. Now Coelho's come over to the O-line after that break. Nunes, high, snatches it down. Back to Caetano once more. We saw that the deep game has come to the fore a little bit more of Portugal in these last few offensive points, so clearly Japan much more determined to shut it down and again force them to really work and grind it down the field here, which they're doing with Coelho. That one scooped with the trailing edge. Stylish snag from Caetano. And Caetano was plunked off the hand of Coelho. He had a second opportunity, but he just didn't spot it early enough. And this time, coming from nowhere, Caetano steals a march. Such smart defending to peel in and get the block. But Portugal look a little bit out on their feet. And Caetano, I think, is going to have to take an injury sub.
Yeah, like you said, Portugal, obviously Caetano taking the injury, but Portugal looking quite slow to want to start their offense after that. We have seen them change some of the personnel on this offensive line now. Roy and Caetano staying out, but the other three players coming in across from the D-line.
Interestingly, Japan not electing to make a substitution themselves. Evidently they've got a plan that they want to stick to. On the beach, I'm not sure about that one especially. I feel like I definitely want the fresh legs out there. Roy to pick up. Marques came in off that call. And he collects that first pass from Roy into the centre. Coelho bounces it back out to the flamethrower Roy. High grab stuck again by Olsen. Not the first time we've had to say that was this point. Roy with a zippy break that Tisha Nunez can't get underneath. The attrition beginning to make itself felt here for Portugal as the layout to save the up-the-line throw counts for naught. Even though still a confidence boost of that for Yusei Tanukara. And we'll go back on a pick. Aichi Atsumi off the resumption. Just shy of the end zone. Can they sneak that past Marques? The layout to the back is not going to come because it speeds its way out of bounds and Portugal get away with it again.
Just a little too much zip, a little too much spin on that disc. It's a very tight window to make that throw as well, so had to be executed really well. And like you said, Benji, Portugal, another time of asking for the hold here. Roy trying to marshal this offense, but a little bit of tiredness looking like it's creeping in.
Wonder if they continue to try and find the unders or whether they pull the trigger on something more expansive. Here it comes. They're looking for Patricia Nunez, and maybe at the start of the point Nunez might have had that, but been out there for a fair old while and the gas just simply not there in the tank to kick on the afterburners.
It's interesting. Portugal are starting quite deep in the lanes as well, Benji, meaning that those unders create a lot of space and a lot of separation. But when that tiredness starts to creep in, you're having to make bigger cuts and bigger movements and running more distance and covering more distance on the sand as well. So be interesting to see if they adjust and start to move some of those isolation cuts a bit closer.
Japan looking for the deep shot once more, and Roy rips it down. Coelho really wants that underneath give, and Roy eventually obliges. Now Roy's going to go deep himself. The blade trying to slide its way through, and somehow he snuck that into the turkey hole there. The blade, the angle, bisected those two defenders perfectly, and Roy jumps it in for a relieving Portuguese score.
Yeah, Atsumi on that one looked like he just turned his head at the wrong moment and just lost track of where the disc is, and Roy did an excellent job to take advantage of that moment and jump the disc into the end zone. Portugal finally able to get a hold on the board at 8-7 here, but only 4.5 minutes left in this one, Benji. This has been an absolutely exciting game. See a couple of the turnovers here from this point, a few tired mistakes, and just a little bit of execution errors starting to creep in as this one gets closer, but then able to sneak this over to Roy. Atsumi just lost the disc behind his head. It just dipped maybe before he anticipated, thought it was going to fly a bit further. Get another look at it. Roy just taking advantage.
It was just the 2 turnovers on the first 5-0 points for Portugal. On their last 3, they've turned it over 7 times. And so you can see there the attrition, the wear and tear that the Japanese defense is really forcing them under. That one, ooh, little flub fielding the pool. So they are going to force themselves back further than they needed to. Broken into the breadbasket of Kobayashi. Looking for the deep shot. Pascual tried to pick his moment, but is left grasping at thin air as the throw delivered, trusted and true. And that's the last thing you want to see if you're Portugal. Your O-line's been out there for so long. Japan's O-line gets back out there on the field. 1, 2, 3, 4 passes later, and you're back out there again.
You took the words right out of my mouth, Benji. It's the efficiency that we've seen from the Japanese offense that is really making a difference for them here. The execution on that deep shot was spot on. Pascual had to go for it. The deep cutter had beat him into that space, so had no choice but to try to make a play, but just perfectly out into space, into the hands there of Mandai. And Portugal, Roy back out on the field again. The tiredness definitely going to be a factor here, I think, in the last few minutes of this game.
Mandai, one of the nomadic tribe contingent on this side, representing his country for the first time and not looking out of place at all. Which is exactly what you want to see, players stepping up to the big occasion. Just over 2 minutes before the cap comes on, so when that time elapses, you finish the point and 1 to the highest score, and that will be our new score limit, so expecting a game to 10 or 11 at this point. Borges on the far side. Caetano loses yardage but keeps possession alive, and now they find the bounce inside to Pinto. Roy and Caetano again really directing traffic from the handler set. Trying to get back into some shape downfield. Roy, that's going to be a little bit too far. Ozde's bid, as she certainly want to do, but unable to keep back up. Portugal passing off that switch defensively, now trying to find it down the line, splitting the difference. They've got the player open in the end zone, and they find her as well. Japan taking a late lead in this contest that could prove to be decisive. They are on top 9-8 with less than a minute until that hooter goes.
I'm so impressed with Japan's defense here today, Benji. They've been making such small adjustments that have been so effective and have paid off time and time again. On that case, we've seen Noda come down to mark Roy on multiple points, and this time taking the matchup of Caetano instead, giving Roy very few options to throw to, knowing that Roy wanted to look to get the disc back into Caetano's hands. Noda was able to shut him out, and that forced them into a difficult option, and Japan, another break on the board here. That was incredibly impressive from the defense.
There's the turnover, just slightly too much outside in on it that took it agonizingly out of Esperostes' path. And then one of these teasing throws where it lures the defender in to try and get the block. But when she's shy, that means that there's a player wide open in the end zone, and Hasegawa connects with Akumo to get Japan with their noses in front as the time elapses. So we'll finish this point and add 1 to the highest score. So it'll be 9-all, game to 10, and Universe, or 10-8 in a game to 11. Pascual with a big fake down the line, finds Nunes in the centre instead. Looking for a next option. Nothing downfield, so goes back to Roy. Portugal now trying to pick up the tempo, giving and going with Pascual's. A couple of players in the end zone. Doesn't like the option, instead the little dishy into Caetano to make it 9-9. And what more could you ask for? Opening showcase game, WUBC 2025, and his Universe point. Exactly what you wanted.
And it had to be Caetano coming in with the point there as well, Benji. He has been unstoppable in those upline cut spaces. And like you said, Universe point game here in the opening match of the World Ultimate Championships, World Beach Championships. It is incredible stuff, and these two teams have been so evenly matched throughout this game. The offensive efficiency from the Japanese, the ability to grind out some of these long points here as well from Portugal. This could be anybody's game.
Yeah, Portugal, well, no time at the present for them. They're showing that they are keen to get out there already. You can see Coelho, Roy, looks like Pascual, I think, as well, the third male matching player. And they've got Patricia Nunes, Sada Seneca out there as well to complete their 5. Japan seem like they're trusting that O-line to get the job done. Spirits high for Japan on the sideline. As the pull rolls all the way through, it was untouched, so they will get the chance to bring it to the front of the end zone. But that's a good opportunity for the Portuguese defense to get set. Mandai's going to walk it to the front of the end zone. Sagawa as the reset. Sakakibara on the far side in the intermediate space. Immediately clearing out Sagawa downfield. A couple of defenders go to cover it, and that opens up space underneath. Japan are moving like lightning across the sand. Mandai to Shinoda. Connecting with Kobayashi. Just going to take the little dish off here to Sagawa once more. Roy trying to trap them on the line. Can they find the space? Going down the line, past the bidding Nunes into the end zone to Sakakibara for the score and the victory. Heartbreak for Portugal, but Japan get their tournament off to a dream start with a Universe point win here over host nation Portugal.
What a fantastic opening game we've seen here, Benji. Japan really pushed themselves throughout this game. They were down a couple times. They fought back in and able to break to get themselves ahead so that they got this beautiful offensive point here for the win on Universe. Efficient as they've been throughout the game. Heartbreak for Portugal, like you said, but these two teams have established themselves in this tournament already. Other teams will be looking to this game. What a way to start. This has been an incredible, incredible match.
Yeah, back and forth. Everything encapsulated about Beach Ultimate there. I mean, really, you look at the number of break chances Japan got. They should have been far and away out of the distance, but Portugal's O-line did a really good job of getting the disc back, finding ways to get themselves over the line. In the end, I think just that wear and tear really told on them towards the end of the game. Portugal's D-line got 2 opportunities, perfect on them both, just couldn't quite generate enough pressure on an immaculate Japanese offense.
Yeah, I think a big crucial thing here for Portugal, a few unforced errors from their offense as well. Japan only coming through with 1 block in this game, so Portugal needing to tighten that up as they move on into the later stages of the tournament. They were able to get the disc back quite a bit, but a few execution errors to fix. Yeah,
that 1 block as well, a hand block from Noda on the very first Portuguese possession as well, and in the end just that clinical edge from Japan saw them over the line in this brilliant opener. A full week of Ultimate here to come on the beautiful sands of the Praia de Russia. Portimão, the Algarve, Portugal, the site of 2025's World Beach Ultimate Championships. Stay tuned to Ultiworld all week for a feast and festival of beach ultimate. Further story from this opening game. Back and forth, both sides duking it out. Japan 10-9 over Portugal.